In this presentation, we feature one of our World Massage Conference hosts, Melanie Hayden. She's going to be discussing the Mentorship Circle, creating professional and personal success. Participating in a peer mentorship circle is a great opportunity to increase the vitality and excellence of your massage practice in a fun and inspiring way. This proven model of peer mentoring creates a supportive and non-judgmental environment where sharing personal and professional joys and challenges can help you increase the success of your practice. In this presentation, you'll learn methods to create your own successful peer mentorship circle, where the experience and expertise of your fellow practitioners will keep you informed, inspired, and excited about your massage practice. I'd like to introduce you briefly to our presenter, Melanie Hayden. Melanie left the high-tech corporate oil and gas world behind and became a registered massage therapist more than 12 years ago. She's practiced in a corporate wellness center, an integrative health care clinic, and now has a part-time wellness-based practice out of her home office in Calgary, Alberta. Melanie encourages her clients to discover ways to reconnect with the things that make them healthy and happy, and teaches them how to bring elements of self-care into each day. Melanie incorporated the Healing Cocoon, which serves as an umbrella company to facilitate her love of creating and organizing women's retreat weekends, health and wellness presentations, and workshops that support massage therapists to experience professional and personal success. Melanie is presented throughout Canada and at the Upledger Institute Foundation's International Research Conference in the United States. She served her professional community for over 6 years as the president of Canada's only National Massage and Natural Health Care Practitioner Professional Association. And she is, of course, a partner in the World Massage Conference and MassageTherapyRadio.com. Melanie, welcome to the World Massage Conference.
Hello, Eric. Thank you. It's so great to be here as a presenter.
And it's great to have you on that side of the table. We've known each other for a long time, and I know you do a lot of presentations, but I've never actually had a chance to listen to one. So this is my opportunity.
Excellent. Well, I hope that you enjoy it just as much as everybody else will. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm going to do this basically as an interview with you. So I'm going to just lead you through some of the questions here that I have prepared. And I'm just going to load up your slides here. I just lost it for a moment there. Okay, so let's start off with a very basic question. What is mentorship?
Well, it is a great place to start, actually. Mentorship can be described simply as a developmental relationship between a more experienced person to help a less experienced person. Certainly, traditionally, mentorship has been more of the one-on-one style of mentoring. The mentor is the more experienced person, and the mentee is the less experienced person or the protege. Mentorship doesn't have to be a formal relationship. It can certainly be a less formal relationship that's never even been specifically defined as mentorship. As an example of a more formal mentoring relationship, a lot of companies set up mentorship programs for new employees to learn the ropes of the company. A mentor is assigned to a mentee to share their knowledge and expertise about the company's history, the policies and procedures, how to fill out forms for various things, where to find the company directory, introduce them to new employees and to various people they'll be working with, that kind of thing. And the mentor can also provide them with guidance on how to do their jobs and continue to support them in their role for as long as it's required. And an example of more of a less formal mentorship role, I have a client who has a 16-year-old son who's being mentored by his grandfather to learn how to work on cars. And he's learning how to change the oil, rotate the tires, monitor the fluids, all kinds of things like that. And his grandfather is mentoring him to take care of his own vehicle and learn some very valuable life skills. Now, what's really cool is on the flip side of that coin, the grandson is also mentoring the grandfather in learning how to use the internet. He's teaching him how to do research on various interests and how to find items for the car that they're restoring together on the internet using search engines. He's also teaching him how to use email so that they can keep in touch with each other. So you can see that being a mentor and a mentee is certainly not dependent on age.
Okay, now, some people, I think a lot of people are familiar with the concept of mentorship, but what is a peer mentorship circle that you talk about?
Yeah, it's definitely not necessarily a completely different approach or a completely new approach to mentoring, but it's one that's been very successful that I've participated in. And the mentorship circle is really exciting opportunity to tap into the wisdom and knowledge of our peers who are in the same profession and to share our own expertise with others to support them in their growth. In our context, in the context that we have our mentorship circles, it can be best described as collective wisdom openly shared in a non-judgmental, highly supportive environment for the professional and personal benefits of each individual group member, the group and the profession as a whole. The style of mentoring we're working with the peer mentorship circle. What we're doing is we're utilizing the skills and expertise of a group of people, not just one individual guiding another. In the mentorship circle, we have an opportunity to learn from and share with peers that have varied degrees of experiences, expertises, and backgrounds, and it really is a collective for the betterment of all. This particular peer mentoring circle concept was a model that was created by a couple of massage therapist friends of mine, LaDonna Smith and Karen Sloan, and has really continued to evolve and grow. And LaDonna used to teach at the Okanagan Valley College of Massage Therapy in Kelowna, BC, and she's always loved and supported the idea of mentoring. And she even created a mentoring program at the college where she was teaching for the students. And Karen has had a private practice in Calgary and was participating in a lot of volunteer work in her professional community. And we were all members of the same massage association, and that's how Karen and LaDonna met. What they noticed was that in our profession, we tend to be very isolated, working in small clinics, working in home settings, in private practice, or in other settings. We don't always have the opportunity to get support and interact with other massage professionals. The massage therapy profession is also very unique within the healthcare profession. We're working with clients one-on-one in very intimate settings where the client is typically completely undressed, obviously properly draped, of course, and the length of our sessions are typically an hour or longer in many cases. This setting can give way to the development of a very trusting relationship, which has its benefits and its challenges. Like many professionals, there's a power differential with the clients, and in our setting, the clients are often, the clients and the practitioner often can become very vulnerable. So we really need to have that reinforced support for our professional practice. And many practitioners are working with clients for many years, and we really get to know that client, and the client can share some pretty personal information that's sometimes a challenge for us personally and professionally to take in. So that's a lot around like boundaries, a lot of what Suzanne Skurlock-Durana's information is, and Dr. Beth Hedva's is that boundary piece. And, you know, clients can present also with lots of different injuries and diseases over the years. And if we're isolated in our practices, it can prove challenging to know exactly how to take care of the client's needs. Well, it was from these kinds of observations that Karen and LaDonna had this desire to support the profession, and so they got together and moved forward with the concept of creating a mentorship circle for the benefit of the practitioners. And at the time, I was the president on the board, and they came to me and the association and, you know, wanted support for this amazing project that they had thought about. And they received complete support from all of the board members, and we moved forward in creating the program and developing a pilot project with a group from Calgary. And it was so successful and was promoted to our members, and there was several groups, and now they continue to have several groups in various provinces that have been created. And I've been involved in my mentorship group in Calgary, where we still have actually a couple of the founding members from well over 5 years ago. And it's been an amazing experience. And we meet about 2 hours once a month at one of the group members' homes, and we do that for about 9 months out of the year. And I'm also part of a mentoring circle, and again, it's not necessarily labeled as a mentoring circle, but that really is what it ends up being. And this is a group from across Canada, and we meet over the phone once a month, and we talk to each other on the conference call, and that's for about an hour or so. Sometimes we go a little over if we need to. And this is an opportunity, again, where we get a lot of that personal and professional support by sharing our experience and our knowledge. And, you know, we just each pick up our bill for the conference call, and it's not a problem. So yeah, it's just a wonderful peer mentoring circle is just a really wonderful way of bringing people together.
Okay, well that's interesting because the circle can be both a real life circle or a virtual circle if people, therapists, are in remote locations as well.
Exactly.
Now, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your own mentorship experiences. I know we've talked a lot about it over the years. Maybe you can share these with the listeners.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because when I was thinking of these things myself, you know, one of the people that I work very close with is Eric Brown, and
oh, really?
you know, so I want to share an example of more of a one-on-one mentoring. And when I became a partner in MassageTherapyRadio.com a couple of years ago, I was invited in by Eric Brown, and we've known each other for about 8 or 9 or 10 years and worked together on different conferences and stuff, and have really appreciated each other's work. And when I became one of the partners in Massage Therapy Radio, you know, Eric, I'll just say you have been so supportive in helping me to learn the technology part of the business, because it's certainly not my strong suit, the technological piece. And you've been very instrumental in supporting me in building my confidence as a host, as an interviewer, as a presenter, and as well as you share your experience in marketing and business development so freely. And, you know, the mentoring is ongoing as we work with new and wonderful technology, and as I continue to stretch myself in new areas of both Massage Therapy Radio and the World Massage Conference. And I'd like to also share an example, you know, of my experience in the mentorship circle. And I was working with a young woman in my practice who, you know, she had a very stressful job, and she was feeling really unhealthy and wasn't sleeping and stuff. And, you know, she'd been coming to me to sort of get the relief of the physical symptoms that go along with the stress she was experiencing. And, you know, she was getting massage on a regular basis, and she was finding relief from it. But she really wasn't finding the long-term relief that both of us were hoping that she would get. And I had suggested several, you know, home care, self-care protocols with her, and even suggested maybe working with some other practitioners. And every time she'd come back, I'd ask her, you know, how she was doing with the home care and how things were going. And she would always complain about still feeling unhealthy, and would always report to me that she hadn't done anything to improve her situation. But she did always feel better after the massage. And I noticed that I, you know, kind of started getting frustrated with her, and I was getting a little annoyed that she, you know, was taking this sort of lack of action approach to her healing process, even though she was interested, or seemed to be certainly interested, in feeling better. And I brought this to the group. I brought this to my mentorship group to see if they could help me, because I wasn't feeling very good about feeling frustrated with a client. That I kind of felt like that was inappropriate from my part to feel that way, or somehow it wasn't helpful, and that's certainly what we want to be as practitioners, is helpful. So we talked a lot in the group about practitioner boundaries and about our goals to support our client, and, you know, wherever they are in their healing process. And, you know, we realized that at the very least she was still getting some health care through the massage. And when she was ready to take a bigger role in her healing, she would. And she would do it with or without my help. And we also kind of came to the conclusion that if I kept feeling that way, or if I kept kind of nagging her to do things, then she might even stop coming to get her massage treatments, which was certainly the one thing she was very dedicated to doing. So I was able to really reframe my support for my client, and come back with a much more non-judgmental place. You know, still really encouraging her and inspiring her to take proactive action, but it was just so wonderful to come back from a different place and know that I can offer her support, and that it isn't my place to be judgmental for her. And I mean, after all, we're all human beings, and we're in a wonderful caring profession. So these things happen to us, and that's, really the beauty and the importance of getting support in our profession. And again, especially if you're a more isolated practitioner. So I really want to encourage you to all to, kind of take some time in the next couple of days and think about your own mentorship experiences and, formal or informal, and think about what they gain from that relationship, and think about what you gain from that relationship. And I didn't really speak to this, but, you should think about how you were supportive to someone else as well, and how good that felt to be in a position to be able to support someone to move forward with their dream, or to help someone to solve a personal or professional problem, and to help other people to increase their massage business or build new skills. It's a wonderful feeling.
Okay, now Melanie, what would you say are some of the qualities that you want to look for in a mentor?
Well, I think there's a lot of qualities that we can look for mentors, and we can take a look in ourselves as well. What would we consider as qualities that we would like to be a part of a mentorship group? And while it's certainly not criteria to have these qualities, it certainly gives us a good place to start from and to start reflecting upon. And these are some of the qualities that the groups in the past have come up with over the years that seem to have been very important to them, and certainly the group and the people in the group having positive energy, being role models, keeping the confidence. Keeping the confidence of the people in the group is very important. And then just coming back to that piece about me being non-judgmental. So that reminder of being non-judgmental in our practice, it's very important to bring that into a mentorship circle as well. And it's also important to get validation and confirmation of our experiences and our feelings. And again, coming back to the boundaries, sharing our experiences, encouraging each other, being visionaries, helping people to feel that they're important and they're special, and again, just that validation of feelings, and a willingness not to know. So being in a mentorship circle, or even a one-on-one mentorship, it isn't about I know everything and I'll tell you. Sometimes we just don't know, and that's a part of being willing to share that in the mentorship group. And certainly a quality, we're all there to share our experiences. There's no one that is better or different or anything like that. We're just all there as equals. Certainly support of each other. Trustworthiness is very, very important. And also the willingness to tell the truth and to be authentic. So if someone needs support where maybe they need help getting a little bit of a shift, so in my experience that I shared, the group, was really good about helping me to recognize that, what my boundaries were, and that I needed to step back and take a more non-judgmental place. So they were very authentic for me, and that's the real supportive part. And excuse me. And again, we're not experts. We're sharing experience. I want to offer some more homework for our listeners, and over the next couple of days, take some time to reflect back on some qualities of some mentors that you've had, and add those qualities to the list that you feel are important.
Okay. Now I see I'm watching the questions coming in as we're talking here too, and one of the things that's coming up frequently in the questions are, what are some of the things that you would discuss in a mentorship circle?
Oh, yeah, definitely an excellent question, and certainly over the years we've discussed, for the most part, what we've found is that our discussion categories come under three main categories, and this is helpful to remember when you're starting your own mentorship circle. So really, this is not in any particular order, but self-care category, which certainly is our topic for today, our theme for today. And that can encompass the entire scope of caring for your mind, body, and spirit. And we can support each other in the mentorship circle by doing trades, getting regular bodywork treatments, encouraging each other to get professional support or spiritual guidance when needed. And we can support personal empowerment and share resources with each other as well. And the one of the other categories that we find is in business and marketing, of course. So again, we can share ideas on experience on running our businesses from our home and our clinics and spas, business agreements for partnerships, share marketing ideas and tips, you know, what worked for you in the past and what maybe didn't work so well in the past for you. Ideas on networking, you know, who should we go to meet and talk to about getting new clients, and sharing administrative knowledge and skills of running the business, and sharing resources for accountants and bank managers and things like that. And you know, we talk often about raising our fees. That's probably one of the bigger subjects that, that comes up. Just going to get a sip here. And the other main category of discussion that comes up are professional dilemmas. So we've all experienced professional dilemmas over the years. I previously gave you an example of one of my professional dilemmas that I had with one of my clients. And so we speak to relationships with our clients, including things like dual relationships, billing issues that come up. You know, several of us have had clients over the years that, you know, maybe it's the end of their, fees that they get covered, massage therapy fees that they get covered, and could we give them a couple of receipts for the rest of the year, and would that be okay? And so certainly ethical dilemmas, those are the kinds of things that come up under that category as well. And in our group, we just happen to be in the same association. So sometimes when professional dilemmas come up, we look to our code of ethics and conduct and looked at understanding what it means to practice within those guidelines. And your group members certainly don't have to be in the same organization. That's just an example. But you know, there are a lot of resources for ethics out there that have been very supportive to the group.
Okay, so that's a good overview, Melanie. Thank you very much. Can you give us maybe perhaps some more detailed examples of some of the discussion topics that come up?
Yeah. Absolutely, and I put them on a couple of slides too, Eric. So you know, these are some idea of some of the things that can come up, or that can be used as questions to begin a discussion forum within your mentorship group. And you know, I'm just gonna kind of name them off. And again, these are things that have come up for a lot of us, but this list can be added to and generated as you go. So things like using your intuition about some clients. So when you're practicing on your own specifically as well, you know, make sure you're practicing safely. You know, how do you do that, and making sure that you're giving yourself permission that you don't have to take all the clients, especially when you're practicing on your own. You need to make sure that your safety is primarily as well as your own clients. So you know, again, going back to the raising the fees or not to raise the fees, and how to go about that, and how do I tell my clients, and how far in advance should I tell my clients, getting into those kinds of details. Obviously, marketing ideas. It's like, hey, you know, things are starting to slow down a little bit. What can I do to generate some more information for my clients to have, or how can I bring in more clients into my practice? And this one has come up several times for several people. The need to fire a client. Why should you fire a client, and how do you go about firing a client? And you can put that in any terminology that you like, releasing a client, or, you know, you have a client that comes in and it's just not working for you. How do you let that client know that you know, maybe you're not the right therapist for them, or maybe they're not the right client for you? And you know, oftentimes, again, because we build relationships, very strong relationships with a lot of our clients, especially in a practice like a wellness-based practice, which is like my practice. I have a client that has been seeing me since I was a student practitioner, so for over 13 years. And I have clients that I've known for 10 and 5 and 12 years. And one of my clients, you know, she was single when she came in, and has since gotten married and had 3 children. So we are with our clients for a long time, and often we get very close to them. And so we want to make sure, you know, how do we keep our boundaries and have those dual relationships? And what do you do if you're interested in a client? Or what do you do if a client says that they're personally interested in you? You know, those kinds of things come up. We did have one of our gals in our mentorship circle, one of her clients passed away, and she found out that she committed suicide, and it was a real challenge for her to deal with that. And so she was able to really reach out to her core group and get support. And, you know, another experience that we've had, and I'm sure so many people have had these experiences, where, you know, a child or a spouse passes away, or someone that's, you know, really close to your clients, and you need to be able to support them. And again, because we're so close to them, we want to make sure that, you know, those boundaries are kept there. You know, certainly things like a client that has cancer, those things come up. You know, what do we need to know? We don't necessarily always have the latest and greatest information. So tapping into that resource of our fellow practitioners is so important here. Here's one that a lot of us feel, massage therapists feel, after a certain amount of time, maybe, and we've been in our practice for a long time, and we're feeling a bit burned out, maybe a little bit dispassionate about the practice. So how can the group help to support you? And one of the things I want to say with this is, you know, working with other people and them sharing their stories is so inspiring. And each one of us in our group over the years has kind of, you know, had that challenge of, do I still want to be in practice, and what does it mean to me, and how do I be really present in my practice? And we end up feeling so inspired talking about it, and you know, we run back to our practice rooms and can't wait to get in there. So it's wonderfully inspiring. And, you know, here's something, too, that came up in our mentorship group. Because we're in a profession where it's predominantly women, and a lot of the people coming into the profession are a little bit younger now. So what happens when you have a baby and you're coming into or you're in the middle of your practice? So what do you do now? And we've actually had a couple of situations. Two of our practitioners in our mentorship group over the years have both been new moms and had babies. And you know, our mentorship group, we decided that we wanted to make sure that they stayed with us because they were already feeling isolated. Both had home practices. And now for them to be at home and, you know, not connected to their mentorship group was even more of a challenge. So we had them bring the babes along with them, and of course, babies always bring such wonderful energy into any group, and we managed it, and it was so important for all of us because we didn't lose the expertise and the experience of these practitioners, and they didn't lose their connection either. So, you know, I'd really suggest if you start a group up that, you know, you are able to work around that if it comes up, because it is a special piece to keep your groups together. And, you know, and another thing that comes up, again, going back to the business related, is you want to sell products in your practice. And so can you do that? Is it ethical? What kind of products should you carry? And how do you go about marketing them? And just on that note, I'm going to encourage everybody in my mentorship circle to listen to the Linda Soline-Wolf presentation, because she talks specifically about this, and she has captured this question wonderfully. And so again, that's something that I can bring back to my mentorship group and say, here's a great resource for you. So, you know, honestly, there is an absolutely unlimited number of subjects that can come up for your group, and you can kind of decide that at a meeting yourself.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see the range of stuff that can be discussed in a mentorship circle like this. So, Melanie, now that we have some of the background and some of the foundational information about a mentorship circle, can you give us some ideas on how a therapist might move forward on creating their own mentorship circle?
Absolutely. And I really invite you to do this because it is such an amazing experience. You know, okay, so I'll kind of go through some points here that will be supportive of you, that you can kind of follow along with. First of all, I'd say it's good to have a mixture of experience. So when you're finding practitioners who have been practicing longer than you, you know, take a look for that. Practitioners that have been practicing longer than you, practitioners that have been practicing less than you. You might even want to consider practitioners who have a variety of modalities in addition to massage. So things like, or even outside massage for that matter, but are in kind of the holistic profession. So people that are Reiki masters, reflexologists, or, you know, aromatherapists. And so when they have a similar practice and practice situation, they can also share the same qualities and support of each other. So you can start with something as simple as contacting other practitioners that you know in the area. Maybe some fellow students that you went to massage therapy school with. You can ask your fellow practitioners who they'd like to invite. And I have to say that I really encourage you to invite practitioners that don't all know each other and to really step outside your comfort zone here and mix it up a bit. This is a great opportunity to create a new network and to really get different perspectives and different views on things. You can certainly contact your association and see if they can put an ad in the publication for you, or perhaps they might send out an email on your behalf. You can look around at workshops, when you're taking workshops or conferences, or when we get our chat room back, we can certainly take a look at that. You can find therapists that live in your area or near your area who think that you think that would be a good fit. You can invite a new graduate to your group from a local school. You can check out clinics and spas in your areas to see if anybody might be interested in joining the group. And what I'd like to say about the size of the group, this is kind of important. So the ideal size of a group is about 6 to 8 really dedicated people. And this is an important note, so I'm going to just repeat it. So the size of the group is, ideally about 6 to 8 really dedicated people. What we find is once the group gets larger than that, it can become a real challenge trying to stay on time and then trying to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate and share, because you certainly want everybody to participate and everybody wants to feel included. So, once you've decided to create a mentorship circle, think about the day of the week and the time of day that might work for you, and start to think about a venue, even at least for your very first meeting. So your venue might be your clinic or your home, so you can start thinking about that. And, you might want to come up with a couple of scenarios. So, we have our group that meets on the third Wednesday of every month from 9 to 11. And the reason I kind of suggest that you have some options kind of in the beginning before you start to call people is that, if you get this group together and people are really interested in, and then all of a sudden you find out, nobody can really make it on the same date, then you're starting from square one. So it's a good idea to kind of have a few different options first that you can present to the people that you're inviting to become part of a mentorship group. Setting your location, certainly may depend on the group. We typically meet at one of the members' house, Lotus Chester. We meet at her house every meeting, and partially because she makes really amazing coffee. Her husband sells coffee for a living, and she's a phenomenal baker, and she makes fresh muffins for us all the time. And certainly she's very central as well. So all of those wonderful things align for us. And obviously, if she's going out of town or if whoever is hosting goes out of town, then you just make arrangements and somebody else can host it. I would suggest that you find a private setting, not a coffee shop or a public place. You really do need privacy in order to create a safe place to discuss anything that you need to discuss, because you are often sharing confidential information. You're certainly not, sharing information that's confidential to your clients. If you have something that comes up with your clients, you obviously are not mentioning their names, but it's still confidential information. So much better kept in a more close environment. And, I mentioned before that we have a group that meets over the phone. And although this is not as personal as in person, and certainly, one of the reasons that you get together in a mentorship group is that, especially for people who practice out of their home, you can become very isolated. So it is important to get out and be with other people. But like as Eric said, if you live in a rural area or, you just can't travel for some reason, you're just not able to get out, then at the very least having an opportunity to create a mentorship circle over the phone can still be incredibly valuable. And what we found is that when you set a mentorship group up for the season, and you have a start date and an end date, it makes it really easy and practical for people to commit to. And it allows the group to have an idea of how many people will attend each meeting in order to keep the sessions going and maintaining the purpose and integrity of the mentorship circles. And as I've mentioned, our group, we agree to attend meetings on the third Wednesday of each month from 9 to 11. And we meet from the months of October through to May. So we kind of take the summer off. But what we like to do is get together and have a barbecue in June. And we bring everybody's families together. And, you know, not being in companies for most of us, this is kind of like our company picnic. So it's a great opportunity to kind of wish everybody well over the summer. And then again, we reconnect in October so we can commit to that again. And we found that most people can commit to attending that kind of meeting structure. And meetings that are about 2 hours in length once a month seem to work really well. And some of the groups have tried in the past to meet more frequently or meet for longer periods of time more frequently. And a lot of the folks were finding that it's a little bit too much of a challenge. And you know, it's important to be successful that the group have a really committed group of members for that season. So obviously your group can kind of do with whatever works best for it, but here's just some helpful hints and guidelines over, you know, the experience that we've had well over 5 years and getting feedback from other mentorship groups on what they have found that have worked. And we also, again, find that by giving our meetings that seasonal approach, that it keeps us committed and allows the group, you know, members to decide, you know, at the end of the season whether they want to continue the next season or if they maybe want to wait out a little bit. So, and you know, it certainly doesn't prevent a group from bringing in new members or from members to renegotiate with a group if they decide that they're no longer want to or are able to present and are able to attend. And just as an aside, the member who no longer wants or is able to attend certainly isn't obligated to give a reason why, but I do believe that they have an obligation to inform the group that they're no longer able to commit. So, you know, just not showing up doesn't really honor the group and the members and the spirit of the mentorship circle. So, you know, if you decide that you know, we're gung-ho in the beginning and something has come up on that time that you just can't change, please let your group know and let them know as soon as possible so that will help support them to get somebody else in there. And, you know, if you're leaving the group and maybe you know of someone else that might want to come in, then you can also support the group in that way. So at the beginning of each new season, you can kind of determine, again, just check in, determine how many meetings you're going to have, when you're going to have those meetings, and where they'll take place. And, you know, the commitment of the entire group really is a key to success. We do find, though, that it takes a couple of pretty active and committed members of the group to really keep it going. So again, we have Lotus in our group, and she is wonderful. She sends out emails just reminding us of the meeting dates. And if we have decided on a specific meeting topic that we want to have, she also lets us know and reminds us about that and lets us know in advance. And what we also ask everybody to do is to respond to Lotus that, you know, if they're not able to make it, just to let her know. And, you know, she also is great at generating the notices for the new season startup. So again, you know, it's great. We communicate via email in between our mentorship circles. But the commitment piece is important because you're not only committing to yourself, you're committing to your group. And you will find that it's really, really well worth it. And, you know, developing an entry-level strategy to bring in new members. We talked about the idea of creating seasonal meetings. So if you do lose a member during the meeting, you know, they can't make it anymore, you know, take suggestions from other people in the group. And, you know, what I do suggest is that you come in with a suggestion on who you would like to bring in and that the group agrees that that person would be a good fit within your group. So if everybody started inviting people, you might end up with a giant group and everybody might have a different purpose. So that communication piece is really important, and the commitment piece is obviously really important too. And of course, like I mentioned, you need to develop an exit strategy for your group members. So if someone decides that they just can't participate anymore, then you help support that process. Facilitating and co-facilitating. Facilitator supports the group by keeping the meetings focused and the intent and the discussion intact. So staying on time is critical to the group's success. The facilitator supports and maintains clear limits on time for everyone during the discussion. What I suggest is that you might want to change your facilitator and share that role and responsibility each meeting. This allows everyone in the group to, a great opportunity to learn some new skills and to understand the importance of the facilitator's role. And at the end of each meeting, then, what you want to do is make sure that you know who the next facilitator is going to be, and when that meeting is going to happen, and if you're choosing a topic, then that would be great. And you can also try co-facilitating, so sharing that role and responsibility with someone else in the group, the co-facilitating piece. And some examples of some ground rules. By agreeing on a common set of ground rules, a safety net is created as well as a contract with each other. A safe mentorship circle is one that everyone remembers to be authentic and caring. And, some of the ground rules that we've developed over the years in our group is, certainly number one, and I mentioned that before, is confidentiality. This is likened to the confidentiality that we offer our clients. So what's said in the circle stays in the circle, unless you're given, specific permission to share. And that again also applies to the confidentiality that, we're not mentioning names if we're discussing things inside or outside of the mentorship circle. Self-responsibility, everybody takes care of their own needs and limits. So for example, when you get your own refreshments, take your own bathroom breaks, do what you have to do to stay focused and present with the meeting. And, leave what doesn't resonate for you in the meeting and take what works for you. Listen from your heart, again, coming back to the judgment, suspend the judgment and be open to the wisdom of each other's experience. So we don't like cross-talking or interruptions while the person is sharing. We want to practice active listening skills, focus on the meeting topic and the intent with flexibility for unseen events. And we want to leave the chit-chat. And I love chit-chat, so I come early to the mentorship meetings and chit-chat with everybody. But we do want to leave that for before or after the meetings, because we really want to stay focused during the meetings on the purpose of that meeting, and again, practicing those active listening skills and sharing, and trying not to remember to, or trying, not to rehearse your answer in your head to somebody's, comment or something like that, or going over your grocery list. It's just really important to stay focused and remembering that it's not about right or wrong answers, and there's no stupid questions. This is a safe place to share, and we're here for a purpose of that support and working together. And speaking from the heart as well as listening from the heart. So using I statements and speaking directly from your experience. So owning your experiences, owning your words, being a storyteller, and speak and encourage using positive language. Commitment, we talked a lot about that. Each person agrees to attend the meeting for the agreed upon number of meetings. Each person agrees to be on time, to be fully present. Each person agrees to call if they need to be absent. And we start every meeting and we end every meeting on time with the people present. So that's alleviating the pressure in case you're unavoidably late. So, in Calgary, I think there was a season there where every single mentorship meeting, we had the biggest snowfall the night before. So it became a little bit of a challenge for all of us to get there on time, but we kept to our commitment and, started on time. And when the group members came in, they just came in and were welcomed into the circle, and we kept it moving forward. So we discussed the role of the facilitator and the co-facilitator, sharing that responsibility. Entry-level exit strategies, or entry strategies and exit strategies. And these are some of the guidelines to get you started in a supportive mentorship circle. And certainly the group can come up with its own formats and that kind of thing. And actually, I'm just going to share a little bit about the format with you. I'm going to just keep going here, Eric. I'm on a roll.
Okay, go right ahead. You're actually, this is very thorough, so you're covering quite a lot of the questions that have been coming up in
Okay,
in the
great.
question area.
Thank you. Yeah, so the meeting format. So what do we do when we get there? Now we're here. We brought everybody together. What are we doing? And, the general idea of what the mentorship meeting format can look like is something like this. So everyone should arrive about 15 minutes early, get a coffee or a glass of water, settle in, grab a muffin. And this is a great time for that informal discussion and catch up with friends that I was talking about, the chit-chat. You can start always start the meeting on time. And what we'd like to do is start our meeting with a check-in. So we go around the circle, and each of us this is a brief opportunity for the group members to share a joy or a challenge maybe from the previous month, or to report on how a new idea from an action item from a past meeting was put into practice. And we limit this to 2 minutes per person. So this isn't the discussion, this is a check-in. So this is for everybody to just kind of come together and start to build the energy of our group. We like to focus on a theme for a meeting. So the theme of the meeting is typically chosen by the group at the end of the previous meeting. Sometimes something happens and something really important comes up for a group member who requires some support. So the group can decide together what that's going to look like. And certainly we talked a little bit before about this list of different topics that you can discuss for sure. So you can come in with a theme. Sharing and support, the sharing of experiences and tips, support and generation of ideas. The mentorship circle is really about the spirit of mentoring, and it's not about any one person telling the other what to do or how to do it. It's very focused on sharing and support being part of the key essentials. So, after your check-in, you kind of work through your theme, which, let's say it's accounting. How is everybody accounting with their business, and what are some of the things that you're using, and who are some of your resources? So we, go through a process of sharing that with each other. And that, once we go through that, we also like to have a completion. So once again, it's important to begin and end on time. And, it's really nice if the members are able to stay and continue conversation after the meeting if they choose. Obviously you'd have to check with your host to see if that was okay. And a lot of times, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of us or all of us will go to the coffee shop afterwards, So you just want to keep it in mind when you're selecting a location. Are you close to a coffee shop, or how are we doing, that kind of thing. And, remember to set, and in the closing, just remember to set your theme for the next meeting, select your facilitator for the next meeting, and decide on any other preparatory information for the next meeting. For example, are there any magazine articles that we need to read, or should we bring along some marketing ideas, bring along our business cards, those kinds of things. And, from the very first meeting that your group gets together, all of the dates and times and venues should have been selected from that very first one. So then you can avoid having to worry and wonder where the next meeting is going to be. And an action item. This is really a nice way to end as well. Encourage everybody to, commit to themselves and commit to each other to take an action item between each meeting. So it might be something as simple as, oh gosh, I've been trying to get my business card done for 3 months now and I just haven't gotten around to it. So maybe that's the action item that would be perfect for that group member to, commit to the rest of the group. So, some of the other components as well, languaging. So again, facilitating with mentoring languaging is vital. We want to use that I-based language and so things like I've discovered, or in my experience, or if I've tried, it just stays with honoring and with that experience. So yeah, I think I'm now ready for another question from you, Eric.
Okay.
That was a lot.
Now we are running tight on time. I was going to ask you about challenges. Maybe you can just speak briefly to that, and then I'd like to take just a couple questions before we sign off.
Absolutely, yeah. Certainly challenges of the group we have had in the experience in the past is, people kind of not committed and people coming in sporadically. That becomes quite a challenge to maintain the integrity of the group. So it's so important to commit to that communication right in the beginning. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. So.
Okay. So I'm just going to take a few quick questions. People that are submitting questions really like the idea of this mentorship circle idea, and you have lots of comments here of support. CG from Phoenix says hello. Maria from the chat room says, we really appreciate all that you're doing here, and people in the chat room love you. Sue from Connecticut, she has a nice comment. She says, I think this is such a good idea because there's so many things, big and small, that it would be great to talk to someone else about, maybe starting a new business or just beginning their massage career, and it can be overwhelming. And it's no wonder a lot of therapists don't get their career off the ground. So she's very thankful for this this idea.
Yeah, and to sort of expand on that a little bit is it isn't just for new practitioners, because the experience that we have to tap into from these 20 and 30-year practitioners, we run into problems throughout our whole career. And what's really cool too is when you have a new practitioner coming in, so you have this balance of people who've been practicing from 5 days up to 20 years and everywhere in between. These new practitioners are really bringing in some phenomenal new skills and information, and they certainly bring in a ton of energy and excitement. So bringing in that balance again keeps you inspired and energized.
Now, would you suggest, this is May from Albuquerque that's asking this question, would you suggest including other business owners, professionals, or experts in other specialties or other members of the community in your circle?
It's a great question, and what I'd say is it depends on your intent. So the intent of the particular mentorship circle that I've shared with you today is really specific to, healthcare practitioners, holistic practitioners, typically massage therapists, who practice in a very unique setting where we're working with those clients one-on-one for an hour, and the challenges that go with that. And the challenges that go with, businesses where there's only yourself, where you're the whole ship. So bringing in people, like if you owned a spa and you wanted to, and had this huge spa that you were running, you may want to create a mentorship group for yourself that is a bunch of spa owners, because you can really help each other and support each other. So, keeping your intent very clear, and the type of people that would benefit from each other's experience and expertise, very clear. So, yeah, that's what I would suggest for that.
Okay. A couple questions from Nancy, sort of related. Are there training programs for mentors? And would you advise hiring perhaps a professional mentor or leader for the group?
Well, I certainly I have created the Mentorship Circle workshop that I have started teaching in Canada because of my passion for it and because of my amazing experiences in it. And so as far as hiring a professional facilitator, I think, again, coming back to owning the group, owning this group itself and everybody participating in it. So even though someone might take the initiative to start it, I feel that once that group is started, it's its own entity. And so I would encourage the people to facilitate themselves and to work on that themselves. And I would be so happy to provide whatever information I have to help get anybody started in a mentorship program, because I think it's really important. And, this little tiny piece of time that we have, I hope will inspire people to consider this. And again, there's, I teach a full day workshop in this, so there's a lot to it that we didn't even have the opportunity to kind of touch base on.
Yeah, absolutely. Although you've done a great job at giving us a real solid foundation here. Now, just one more question, because I think this is probably an important one, is what do you do about a member who's inappropriate or disruptive to the group?
Okay, that's a really great question, because it sort of comes back to that firing a client thing, and it is important to the group's health and well-being, I think, to stay together and to really have cohesiveness. So you certainly don't want, half the people ganging up behind the scenes saying, oh, we have to get rid of him or we have to get rid of her. One of the things that is really helpful is to stay on track, is to share that intent, and to, again, when you set up your sort of guidelines or your rules of your group, be very specific about those things. And if you find that you have someone that's kind of going away from what the group's intent and purpose was, you can bring that up at a meeting, bring up these, guidelines that you've set for each other and talk about the importance of them, and does everybody feel that they're still following within those guidelines, and how is that working for everyone? And, you may just eventually have to, if someone is really challenging for you, you will have to gain support from your entire group on how do we manage this, and do it together. Here's a great opportunity for us to work together in a mentorship group and say, I'm having some challenges with working in this environment. I don't feel that everybody in the group is on the same track. So again, getting support from each other, and it can be a challenge.
Okay, and lastly, how do people contact you if they want to get more information?
Well, like I said, I absolutely am so passionate about this program, and have started teaching the full day workshop that we can do it as an experiential workshop, and I'm also looking at, because I've got so much experience in doing some online work, I want to build a support network group as far as supporting people who want to start mentorship groups. So that's coming down the pipe as well. So you can contact me at the massageconference@gmail.com address. So that's massageconference@gmail.com. Just be sure to put attention Melanie, maybe mentorship circle or something like that. And I probably won't be getting back to you before, maybe mid next week, something like that.
Why not, Melanie?
Yeah. Although I would love to hear from people, and I'm so sorry that we didn't get the chat room going. So I would love to hear your feedback about the presentation, about the concepts, and maybe what are you doing in your community? If you're doing something already, share it with me, because let's get more of this out there. It's such an important thing to do for ourselves and for each other.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Melanie. It's a great concept, and I hope some people that are listening to this take it to heart and run with it, and set up their own mentorship circle.